let's put it this way, not this particular log entry, but you were asked about whether or not you had ever given instructions that the children were not to leave the ranch. Is that correct?
Yes.
What was the reason that you recall for the children not to be leaving the ranch? Before you look at that, I'm sorry, I should have started the other way. I don't want to distract you with that yet. Go ahead.
Well, the main reason on this particular situation was that the children had been known to pull up to the gate in vehicles by themselves without an adult, driving one of Mr. Jackson's vehicles. So I didn't want the guards to allow them off property in a vehicle. Well, that was one situation. There was also a situation where there was a...
I'm going to object as to foundation. Move to strike.
Sustained.
Okay. As of February the 19th, 2003, were you aware of any incidents involving the children using vehicles in an unauthorized fashion?
Yes.
And what were you aware of?
That they had used the vehicles of Mr. Jackson's to drive around the property.
All right. Did that cause you any concern as the ranch manager?
Yes.
And what was your concern?
Number one, their safety. Number two, the safety of the employees and the property. And number three, the vehicle itself.
All right. And what was your frame of mind as far as allowing the to leave the property on any vehicles, whether it be automobiles, vans, or even ATVs?
It was not to happen.
Were the children supervised by a parent at all times during February and March of 2003?
No.
Were there times when Janet was not there?
Yes.
Did you ever give any instruction to anybody to hold any of the against their will?
Never.
All right, next are retired cops and moonlighting firefighters up to the job of security at Neverland.
Was it your understanding that all of these people understood the need to abide by the law?
Correct.
All right. And if they observed anything illegal or improper, was it their duty to report it to the staff, to their supervisors?
Objection, leading.
Overruled. You may answer.
Yes.
Did you have, as the owner, as the ranch manager, did you have an expectation that former police officers, former and current firefighters, would also report any unlawful activities to the civilian authorities?
Objection, leading.
Sustained.
The people that you have just mentioned, was there any secret made of their backgrounds?
No.
Based on your discussions with Mr. Jackson, was Mr. Jackson aware that some or all of these people were either prior or current employees of police or fire departments?
Objection, hearsay.
Sustained.
Was there any effort made to keep any of this secret from Mr. Jackson?
Same objection.
Sustained.
Moving on to cross-examination, Assistant District Attorney Gordon Auchincloss questions Joe Marcus about the King of Pop's special friends.
Now, during your 17 years at Neverland, you had a first-hand opportunity to see a number of young boys visit Neverland. Is that true?
Yes.
Okay. Have you had a chance to see a number of these young boys who spent a lot of time with Mr. Jackson?
Repeat the question, please.
Have you had an opportunity to see a number of these young boys that you just mentioned spend a considerable amount of time with Mr. Jackson?
Yes.
Mr. Jackson tends to form special bonds with some of these young boys. True?
I'm going to object. Lack of foundation.
Overruled. You may answer.
Not just boys, but yes. I have seen him have bonds with children.
Did you see Mr. Jackson observe it, form a special bond with Aldo Cassio?
They were friends, yes.
What about Brett Barnes?
Yes.
Jason? Did you ever see him spend time with Jason?
No.
What about Wade Robson?
Yes.
Jordy?
Yes.
Macaulay Culkin?
Yes.
Gavin?
Yes.
Oh, if you could only hear Howard Weitzman during the testimony while it's playing. As testimony continues, did this witness know if children were sleeping in Michael Jackson's bedroom?
Do you have any knowledge of children sleeping in Mr. Jackson's room?
Yes.
On the interview that you had with the investigator at the time of the search warrant, you specifically said that you had no knowledge of children sleeping in Mr. Jackson's room, didn't you, Mr. Marcus?
That's correct.
That was untrue, wasn't it?
Yes.
So you weren't honest in that interview, were you, as you just testified?
Objection, argumentative.
Sustained.
I'll strike that. You've seen pornography, or, excuse me, you've seen adult erotic materials at Neverland Ranch, correct?
Yes.
And have you seen adult erotic materials in Mr. Jackson's room?
No.
Have you seen adult erotic materials in areas where Mr. Jackson allows children to be?
No.
Do you know if Mr. Jackson possesses adult erotic materials?
Lack of foundation.
Overruled. You may answer.
Yes.
You know that he does possess adult erotic materials.
No, I don't know that he does.
You have no knowledge of that?
Have I gone out and bought them for him? No. Do I know that he owns them? I haven't seen them with him. No.
Well, you've been in his office numerous times, true?
Yes.
I'm showing you Exhibit 779. Do you consider these adult erotic materials, Mr. Marcus? Yes, do you?
No. I mean, yes, they are. They're artwork, but
You keep looking at Mr. Jackson. Why is that?
Objection. Argumentative.
Sustained.
Okay, so you admit that these are adult erotic materials.
Asked and answered.
Sustained.
And you have seen these before, haven't you?
yes.
And they are on Mr. Jackson's desk, in his office.
That is correct.
And they are there when children are allowed to come into his office.
That is correct.